Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Whether it's the blazing heat of the Barclays Center or the strobe-lit madness of Las Vegas, Gervonta Davis doesn't just enter the ring, he invades it. The atmosphere changes when he walks in. Short, stocky, but with the aura of a monster. At 135 pounds, the man they call Tank is an anomaly. A fighter capable of turning anyone's lights out with a single uppercut. But behind the executioner's mask lies a quieter truth. Gervonta Davis is too big for his division. Not in height, but in natural weight, in rehydration, in ambition. Back in June 2021, he already moved up to super lightweight, defeating Mario Barrios, a legitimate 140-pounder, by TKO in the 11th round. And he did it in explosive fashion, showing he could dominate beyond the lightweight limit. Since then, he dropped back down. A step back, maybe for strategy or money, but certainly not for physical reasons. What the cameras don't show is the behind-the-scenes struggle. Gervonta cuts a lot. Too much. Every weigh-in is a war of attrition. He squeezes under 135 only to balloon up afterwards, sometimes gaining 10 or even 12 pounds within 24 hours. This is not uncommon, but it's risky. And in Tank's case, it magnifies a growing disconnect. He fights at lightweight, but hits like a super lightweight. The truth is clear. The 140-pound division is thriving, packed with names like Teofimo Lopez, Subriel Matias, Devon Haney, Gary Antoine Russell. Gervonta could build a legacy there, but he's stuck in a division he's either cleaned out or dodged. Against Ryan Garcia, he scored a brutal knockout, but under strict conditions. A rehydration clause, a contracted weight below the standard limit. Tank will turn 30 soon. He's undefeated, but the horizon is murky if he keeps playing small. Moving up to super lightweight isn't a gamble. It's a return to his natural frame. It's no longer just about hitting hard, but proving he can dominate without a safety net in a deeper, more dangerous division. And most importantly, if he wants to join the rare circle of the greatest, he'll have to follow in their footsteps. Mayweather, Pacquiao, Duran, they all moved up at some point. Tank has the talent to follow that path, but staying below his true division, that's playing in a league too small for someone born to be great. Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson doesn't seek war, he diffuses it. He has a rare gift for anticipating his opponent's intentions before they happen. But today, at 134 pounds, that technical genius seems restrained. As if his body is whispering a truth his discipline refuses to hear. Shakur Stevenson needs to move up to super lightweight. Back when he fought at featherweight, he danced in the ring, literally. Then, at super featherweight, he dismantled Oscar Valdez with such ease, it felt like a simulation. But since settling into the lightweight division, something's changed. Against Edwin De Los Santos, it wasn't a masterclass, it was a riddle. Cold, frozen, with his usual fluidity turned into hesitation. Some called it boring, others said it was overly cautious. But the truth is simpler. Shakur seems to be fighting his own weight. 135 is no longer natural. His talent is untouched, but the physical context doesn't match anymore. Where his footwork used to slice through angles like a scalpel, it's now becoming predictable. Where his jab once controlled the tempo, it now hesitates. And meanwhile, the division watches. Gervonta, Loma, Zepeda, Martin. None are rushing to face him, because beating Shakur is all risk, no reward. And deep down, he knows it. That's why 140 isn't just an option, it's a necessity. The super lightweight division is a broader battlefield. It demands more grit, more volume, more fire. But it also offers what Shakur truly needs. Worthy challenges, opponents who won't run, fights that build legends. And above all, freedom. The freedom to box without being drained. The freedom to react without lag. The freedom to dictate the pace instead of surviving it. The good news? Shakur is only 26. He still has time, but not forever. At 140, he could take on Teofimo, Matias, even Haney, with no compromises, no excuses. This isn't just a career decision, it's a decision of ambition. Naoya Inu. Few nicknames have ever fit a fighter better than the monster fits Naoya Inu. Not because he's brutish, but because he's a cold, methodical creature, born to destroy with surgical precision. Since the beginning, he's stormed through the lower weight classes like a silent tsunami. With each move up, doubt briefly surfaces. Then he strikes, and the doubt vanishes. Today at 122 pounds, super bantamweight, he has no equal, and that's exactly why he must leave. To understand Inue's place in boxing is to understand living mythology. A 4-division world champion, undefeated, ruthlessly consistent. At 122, he's already wiped out Stephen Fulton, once considered the division's elite. Marlon Tapales was just another obstacle, crushed in his wake. Within months, Inoue became the undisputed champion at Super Bantamweight, and the division became hollow once more. It's not a matter of lacking talent, it's that no one appears capable of pushing him to his limits. There's a glacial violence in his performances, all done without ever seeming to strain. So what remains? The answer? 126 pounds. Featherweight, a historically noble division where real wars have unfolded. It's where Salvador Sanchez, Nassim Hamed, and Manny Pacquiao carved their names. Today, fighters like Robeisy Ramirez, Rafael Espinoza, and Raymond Ford wait unknowingly. Inoue may not find immediate domination at 126, but he'll find what he needs: resistance. At this point, his legacy is no longer a promise, it's a masterpiece in progress. And like any masterpiece, it must be tested. This wouldn't be for the Japanese fans who already consider him one of the greatest, it would be for longevity, for evolution. The monster must leave his den and hunt elsewhere to write at 126 pounds the boldest chapter of his reign. David Benavidez. David Benavidez is a walking paradox. At 168 pounds, he's a nightmare. Tall, rangy, throwing an insane volume of punches for a super middleweight with clinical meanness in every exchange. He bulldozes opponents with surgical precision and surprising timing for such a young fighter. Yet despite his dominance and spectacular style, he's stuck. Whenever Benavidez is mentioned, one name overshadows all: Canelo Alvarez. And every time, the same frustration. The fight doesn't happen. Negotiations collapse, excuses pile up, priorities shift. But for boxing purists, Benavidez is clearly the most dangerous threat to Canelo. Canelo plays long-term chess. Benavidez, meanwhile, grows impatient. While Canelo selects opponent, Benavidez destroys him. Caleb Plant, once viewed as a technical, resilient boxer, was broken in a war of attrition. David Lemieux, crushed. The problem now is that staying at 168 too long risks stalling his career momentum. The only logical move? Jump to 175, where the storm awaits. And what a storm it is. Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev, Joshua Buatsi, Callum Smith, fighters who hit hard, fight smart, and carry experience. At light heavyweight, Benavidez wouldn't be the untouchable titan. He'd be tested, forced to adapt, to prove himself all over again. And that's exactly what he needs to join the pantheon of the greats, because Benavidez isn't built to wait. He's built to hunt, to crash into tougher, heavier, more dangerous men. Otherwise, he risks becoming another name on the list of wasted potential, those who had everything but opportunity. Devon Haney. Devon Haney has always been ahead of his time. An undisputed champion at 135 pounds, he embodies a style reminiscent of Floyd Mayweather, but with his own twist. Calm, patient, and calculated, Haney controls the ring like a strategist commands an army. But in recent years, a troubling truth has begun to surface, visible to those who look beyond the victories. The weight is starting to suffocate him. Toward the end of his reign at lightweight, the signs were clear. A gaunt face at weigh-ins, sluggish legs in the later rounds, and a decreasing punch output. Then he moved up to 140 to face Regis Prograis and dominated him without breaking a sweat. His performance, methodical yet effortless, revealed something crucial. Haney is comfortable at 140, maybe too comfortable, but the business reality at 140 is unforgiving. If Haney stays in this division, he may never become the sport's biggest star, not while Gervonta Davis electrifies the crowds or Ryan Garcia monopolizes the spotlight. The real strategic leap for Haney lies at 147 pounds. That's where the lights are brightest, the prestige richest, and the money real. Physically, he's already built for it. Tall, long-limbed, broad-shouldered, his body is calling for a higher weight class. Moving up could bring the sting back to his jab, restore freedom to his footwork, and most importantly, breathe new life into his boxing. Because right now, he's stuck between two worlds. Too strong for 135, too cautious for 140. Errol Spence Jr. Some fighters are admired for their style, others are respected for what they've endured. Errol Spence Jr. belongs to the latter. For years, he was seen as the natural heir to the welterweight throne. A slick, heavy-handed pressure fighter with the patience of a hunter. He cleaned out his division with cold discipline, outclassing tough contenders like Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, and Danny Garcia. But his path to greatness wasn't a straight line. In 2019, he survived a horrific car crash. His vehicle flipped, his body was thrown from it, his jaw shattered. Many thought he'd never return, but he did, standing, smiling even, and he kept fighting. Then came July 2023, the long-awaited showdown with Terrence Crawford. A clash of styles, a generational battle. That night, Spence left a part of himself in the ring. Not just a belt, not just a fight, but a breath, a certainty. The loss was brutal, merciless, almost cruel, and yet he never complained. He took it, but everyone saw it. He was drained, not in spirit, not in mind, but in body. Because Spence is a natural welterweight who sacrificed too much for too long to stay at 147. The weight cut has become a poison over the years. It's no longer a tactic, it's torture. And with every weigh-in, Spence loses a little more explosiveness, resilience, and health. At this stage in his career, moving up to 154 isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. He has the frame, the strength, the experience. Where others move up to reinvent themselves, Spence must do it to preserve himself, to keep doing what he loves, but under healthier conditions. At super welterweight, he could rediscover his timing, his patience, and his power. Subriel Matias. Some boxers step into the ring to win, others to survive. Subriel Matias steps in to atone. Since the tragic night of February 1st, 2020, he hasn't been the same. That evening, he delivered a methodical beating to Maxim Dadashev. A routine fight at first, until the rounds piled up and Dadashev, unconscious, left the ring on a stretcher. He would never wake up. Since then, Matias hasn't fought with a smile. He keeps moving forward, but with the hardened face of a man carrying invisible weight. He's become tougher, more violent, but also more silent. At 140 pounds, Matias is a shadowy monster, rarely on the front pages, rarely in the spotlight. He lets his fists speak a brutal truth. There's no escape. Every round is a descent, every fight a war. His opponents don't just lose, they're broken, all of them. But at 140, the options are drying up. Those who know him avoid him, those who don't want nothing to do with him. And Matias, in his bottled up rage, is stuck in a loop. That's why he needs to move up to 147. Not to run, but to be reborn. In the welterweight division, the names are bigger. The challenge is more visible, and paradoxically, perhaps in a heavier division with opponents who can withstand him, he can begin to heal. He can't run his whole career with the ghost of tragedy at his back. Moving up is also about reconstruction, leaving behind the painful memories of 140 and searching for a new rhythm, a new future, maybe even a new peace. Jiren Boots Ennis. Some fighters wait for their moment. Jiren Boots Ennis has already outgrown his, and no one seems to realize it. At 147s, he's boxing's worst kept secret. Too fast, too fluid, too powerful. His talent is obvious, his performances flawless. Yet the big names in the division remain silent. The truth is simple, he's a problem. Why risk facing a young, hungry phenomenon who switches stances effortlessly, cuts off the ring like a veteran, and hits like a middleweight when you can make millions fighting safer opponents? And so, Boots spins in circles in a golden cage. An IBF champion, yet isolated, underused, underhyped. He takes everything he's given, but no one gives him what he truly deserves. Meanwhile, he keeps growing literally. His frame is becoming harder to contain at 147. It's the clearest sign yet that he needs to move up to 154. Not because he's finished with welterweight, but because no one will give him the fights he needs to prove it. At 154, he'll finally be seen for what he is, a predator in the cage, not a young prospect to keep at bay. He's built for super welterweight. His jab will become a spear, his footwork a venom, his power a nightmare for anyone who thinks he's just quick. He's more than that. He's the natural evolution of the complete boxing style, the prototype of the modern fighter. But he must make that leap because talent restrained too long withers. Waiting too long is dying slowly in silence. And Boots doesn't deserve that. He deserves chaos, the spotlight, the headliners. He deserves the Charlo brothers, the Fundoras, the Zoos. This list, this reflection on who needs to change weight classes, it's more than a strategic exercise. It's a call to see these fighters for who they truly are. Giants forced into cages too small. And for Ennis, more than anyone else, staying at 147 risks missing out on greatness. He lacks nothing except the courage to leave it all behind and take what he rightfully owns.